Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today I am joined by world-renowned actor and stand-up comedian who has been making audiences around the world laugh for almost 4 damn decades. Scott Carrot Top Thompson. Scott's comedy career and Carrot Top persona quickly became well known for his 3 trademarks: red hair, performing hilarious prop comedy acts, and, of course, his tiny shorts. You like that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know that. We found that.
Oh, man.
At least our writers came up with it. His comedic skill set earned him acting jobs across film and television for the better part of 25 years. Named Comedian of the Year and Performer of the Year are both some of his more notable accomplishments. However, one of Scott's most impressive career marks from his long-standing residency in Las Vegas, almost 17 plus years performing at Luxor, 10 years at MGM before that, and a year at Bally's. I mean, it's unbelievable what you've done, Scott. We are so excited to have you on Trading Secrets, our first comedian.
I don't think anyone believed any of that, but yes, it's all true. It's all true.
I will tell you, this was like 2 pages, and I had to cut it down because your resume is ridiculously stacked.
Well, I'm old. That's what happened when you're old. You have a longer resume.
Yeah,
it doesn't really mean it's impressive. It just means you have.
But also, if you look at entertainment and media, what under the sun haven't you done? You've done commercials, you've done Jay Leno, you've done acting, you've done comedian, you've done Las Vegas residencies. Anything under media and entertainment, I think you've checked the box.
Yeah, it has been fun. I've been lucky to kind of tackle a little bit, not a lot of everything, but a little bit of everything. You know, with movies, a couple movies, 3, 4. Been in some other movies, sitcoms I've been part of. I never had my own, but cameos and whatnot. So it's fun to see the different formats of performing. I still think stand-up is probably my favorite, only because I think I know more about that than anything else. And, you know, not that I know anything, but I'm saying, you know, that's your comfort. You know, you get that instant feedback. You know if something's funny immediately. In a movie, for film, you don't know could be years. You know, you film it on set, no one's allowed to laugh, and then it comes out, and you're like, wow, that's really funny. So it's a different format, different style of performing in front of a camera, in front of a crew that can't laugh. So,
other than stand-up, of all those different avenues and things you've touched in your career, what would you say you've had the most fun with?
Well, doing the movie stuff is fun because it's out of my element. So, you know, I have to play Carrot Top in a film. When Nicolas Cage one time said that, it was the hardest thing in the world when they said, we're doing a film, it's about you, you have to play you. And he said, this is the hardest thing ever because I have to play me, and who are you? Like, he's used to playing a character. You know, I'm going to be this drunk guy, or I'm going to be this accountant, I'm going to be this lawyer. Most movies I've done, with the exception of maybe a few that I've done recently where I got to play someone outside myself. And that's fun because you're not being Carrot Top, you're being this crazy killer or whatever, and so it's fun.
Who are you? That's a comment.
I'm Batman.
Well, that's a comment you just said. Who are you? Yeah. And I think about just your career, your direction, your brand. You've had no choice really but to stay in your lane. You've had to remain consistent, and it's been so successful doing so. At any point throughout your career, have you started to think there's another identity like I have that I want to step for?
Oh, absolutely.
But I can't.
There's always a blessing and a curse. You know, the day I named myself Carrot Top, I was like, oh, this is good. And then it was like Carrot Top. And then, you know, you're stuck, and then you're in this, like you said, your lane. So you're this character, you're this person. I even had a lady at my show the other night. I was going through the crowd doing my whatever, and she said, I like your old wig better. And I just thought it was brilliant because I'm like, well, my old wig. And she goes, yeah, I don't like this new wig. The old wig was better. I'm like, well, first of all, it's not a wig, but she liked my old look better. I don't know. So it's a brand. Yeah, you know, that's how it all started with, I was a marketing major. And somehow, of course, you get a degree in marketing and you go right into comedy. That's, you know, natural. But that was kind of like, people always made a joke like, what a waste of time doing a marketing career because you didn't use it. And I'm like, once I realized that I had, because when I first started doing comedy, there would be 100 comics going on stage, and I could have been the 50th or whatever comic going up. And most comics, I mean, pretty much all of them were just stand-up monologists with a mic. And when I came up, it was like, you know, props and whatnot, but I had my prop trunk behind me so I remember one night I was doing my show, and I remember I had my prop trunk, and it was just a black lid in the back.
Sure.
I put like a fur in there, like a fun pink fur or something. And then it dawned on me, I should put Carrot Top in the lid of it.
Genius.
Well, it is now thinking about it, because I thought, hey, if they're going to stare at me the whole night, they're going to see Carrot Top the whole time. So my name literally is behind me the whole show. So at the end of the night, when people would say, who'd you see tonight? They said, we saw this guy Carrot Top. because it was in their, it was like the name of the club, Zanies, behind them, the brick wall. Yeah. So it was kind of smart in a sense. I just kind of thought, hey, it's marketing. And that was kind of the first idea of getting, branding in the name, and it wasn't my normal Scott Thompson. So I went, I can't use Queen Latifah. It's been taken, so I got to find something fun. Yeah, Queen Latifah. So I figured. So I thought Carrot Top. I don't know how. I was in my dorm and I just thought Carrot Top. That's kind of stagey and fun. And I drew a logo, and that was my first joke in my show. Was I had a logo before I had an act, which is actually kind of true.
It's interesting because even like this show, we've had some really cool people on, like Rob Gronkowski and A-Rod, some of the people from Vanderpump, the Sharks from Shark Tank. I almost always have to tell people who we're having on, and I'll have some of my friends or family say, "Who is that?" Interestingly enough, when I say Carrot Top, there is not one person that didn't know who Carrot Top is. You are such a household name.
That's good. What do they call that? There's the thing they used to call that. We're going to go around and see how your QI or IQ, your Q rating.
Yeah, your Q rating.
It's called a Q rating.
Yeah. And based on like
we had a bet years and years ago. This is like 30 years ago. I was in LA and we were trying to pitch something. I don't know what it was, and this guy was very big time. And my manager agent at the time was with me. He was my manager, and he was going on and just building me up. And this guy, Carrot Top, he sells out theaters, and he's great. And this guy was just like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be rude, but I have no idea who you are. And I said, I don't blame you, because why would he know who I am unless you went into the South or went into the Midwest? So my manager of all things was very ballsy. He said, I'll tell you what, if we leave your office and walk down the elevator and go down to Robertson Street right there in West Hollywood, if someone doesn't say Carrot Top within 5 minutes, whatever, they made a bet.
Yeah.
I said, I'm looking at him like, you idiot. It's LA. They might not know who I am, but if it was in Charlotte, they might.
Yeah.
So we went down to before even the elevator opened, some guy's like, Carrot Top. And the guy's like, no way. Like, it was good. So it was a Q. I found out you have a big high Q rating. So, yeah.
The Q rating. Stay tuned to the recap. We'll break down what the Q rating is.
It's been fun being able to do this all these years and still have people enjoy it. So.
And I think some of the stuff, doing some research here, you're inducted to the Las Vegas Magazine's 12-member Hall of Fame. That was in 2020. Now, guys, listen back home to these names. Absinthe, Barry Manilow, Cirque du Soleil, the Coliseum, which is literally at Caesar's Palace, David Copperfield, the Fountains of Bellagio, Tao Nightclub, Bistro at the Venetian, Vegas Knights, who just won the Stanley Cup, Wayne Newton, Wolfgang Puck. You are one of like 4 actually individuals on this Hall of Fame
The
list.
most impressive is I was in the same grouping with the Fountains of Bellagio. I think that's the best part.
Bellagio.
You and the Fountains made it. You and a water system are very well known. That's so great.
That's awesome.
What did they do? They did nothing. They just turned on a faucet. But that's great. It's good to be in that. It's good to be in that grouping.
I love that.
The Bellagio water fountains.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
When you're in that grouping though, and you got like Wayne Newton in there, and Barry Manilow, are these people that you're building relationships with? You're collaborating with on business strategy, just other things, or do you guys not really connect?
No, I know all these. Everyone you've mentioned. I would say I'm best friends, but we know each other. We all would say we hang out, but we very, very social. Yeah. But when I was very young, I think I was 13 or so, I came to Vegas with a friend, and we went to see Rich Little, and Rich Little's opening act was Charo, and I remember sitting in the crowd, 13 years old, like, oh my God, this is just, it was bigger than life. It was like, wow. And so then I'm sitting, next to Wayne Newton at a Knights game, and I it's one of those things you just kind of go, oh my God, this is like Wayne Newton, it's cool. So it's a cool thing to be able to get to know these people that you loved your whole life and worshipped in a sense, and of entertainment. And those guys, same thing. I mean, Barry, those guys have been doing it for thousands of years. Not thousands, a lot of years. So. Those are great moments when you think back, when it gets to be like, I'll be up on 40 years in comedy. It's kind of this cool, you've lasted this long and stayed somewhat relevant and still keep the show fresh and fun. I mean, there's, like you'll see that. I think you guys are coming tonight. You'll see there's jokes about the Knights parade already. We haven't even done it, but there'll be jokes about the parade or Trump's indictments. Whatever. There'll be a whole bunch of those things. So.
I love it. You're staying with the time. So you said 1,000 years.
The greatest comedian, by the way, in the world. Just ask me. I'm the greatest comedian. It's the worst Trump impression ever.
Come on.
Remember when you drank his water? Okay,
that was good. That was
the best one we did.
You're getting it dialed in. So what are the most successful residencies residencies, though, in the history of, when I was doing some research of Vegas, was Elvis Presley. 636 consecutive shows, right? This is from 1969 to 1976. I look at some of your stats, though, and I see that you're doing 6 shows per week, 1 week off per month. I do the math. I'm thinking, at least estimating, about 18 shows a month times 12, 18 years, almost 18 years. That's over 4,000 shows just in your Luxor contract.
Sure.
I mean, when you look back at when you were first making this decision, I saw in an interview you said you actually almost turned down the residency because you were a road guy.
That is true.
How unbelievable or surprising is it to you that all these years later you have all these shows under your belt and it's something you almost turned down?
Yeah, that's a true story. I was always a road guy, doing theaters and doing on the tour bus and doing what you do, and we would do in and out with Vegas at the MGM and Bally's and that whatnot. And it was always Vegas was just an interesting market. I would be in college campuses or wherever. People in Tulsa, Oklahoma, they Carrot Top shirts, and you come to Vegas, it was a totally different thing. It wasn't that they weren't fans. It was just wasn't the energy and wasn't the same thing as you would get in Charlotte or Raleigh or wherever. So I would do it, and I was like, God, Vegas is like the real deal. Vegas is like really pushed you to your limits to figure out what you're doing up there. And I think up to last night I haven't figured it out. I think last night I figured. I'm not making this up. I was terrified when I first started doing Vegas, and that's how the whole show became production oriented, because when I was at Bally's there was just a huge stage, huge, and then it was just me and like 3 prop trunks, and I thought, I don't know why, but like George Carlin would stand there in the middle of the stage and with a microphone and tell jokes, but for some reason it just didn't feel right to me. I needed to have like a set. I needed things behind me, so I got like tapestries and tables and lava lamps and couches and rugs, and I just made like this set in a sense. So I felt like I was, in my dorm or whatever, and it was a cool little setting. And then I felt a little better, but that's when I first started to try to think of a bigger scale, because it didn't work in so much in Vegas. And they asked me to do the residency at the Luxor. I said, yeah, no, I appreciate it, but no, I really don't want to do it. I'm a road guy, and And then the president of the Luxor at that time called me. I remember getting on a plane. This is not a joke. I'm like boarding, and it said, I don't know the number. And I picked up, and it was Felix Rappaport. And Felix said, Scotty. And I'd never met him in person. And he says, Felix. And I said, yeah. He says, you're taking this gig, right? And I said, I'm getting on a plane. I'll call you when I land. He says, there's no time to take it now. I'm not going to wait for you to land. You're going to take this gig, right? Wow. And I was like, I don't know if I'm the guy. Like, he's like, Rita Rudner did it for the. You're the guy. I need an answer. And I'm like, I haven't taken off yet. So I was like, I guess. And I reluctantly said yes and got on the plane, and we did it. We did like we did a couple months, and we got through the whatever it was, and it was really tough. And then all of a sudden, it was just one day. I thought, this is fun. And then it was 2 years, and then all of a sudden we were 3 years, and then I was like, I really like this gig. So now I'm like, can I get an extension for like another,
so, 20 years.
Yeah. So now I'm praying for extensions. I love staying in Vegas. I don't want to go on the road. I'm not a road guy. I'm not a bus guy. So it's a very cool gig.
Let me ask you this though: road comedy versus we know the answer now in 2023, but back then, road guy versus having a Luxor residency, which paid more, and how dramatically different was it?
Well, I think the pay is going to be a little different on some kinds of road shows, because the number of seats that are out there in the road shows, you might get paid more to do a show on the road somewhere.
Are comedians
for a
typically paid like that? Are you paid by the seat, or are you paid a fee for that?
Sometimes it's fees, and sometimes it's what you sell.
Sales? Okay.
Yeah, here in Vegas, I get paid for what I sell. So I get each night.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, each night. Yeah, I don't get the deal where you get a $10 million deal for. Yeah, I haven't had one of those deals.
Interesting.
We call it a 4-wall, where I basically run the show. We run the show, so the Luxor really doesn't have a lot of. They don't own any part of it, so it's really my show. We just rent out the 4 walls. That's why they call it a 4-wall. 2 walls when they kind of split it with the other hotel. So there's a 2-wall. They split the cost with the entertainer. So they do a 2-wall. I always have done a 4-wall, which is also interesting, because fellow comedians of mine are like, that's really risky. And I always said, I'm going off my name. I'm going off what this is all I've ever done. I never have done a thing where I split the cost with anybody. And on the road shows, you'd get like a set fee for doing a show, and then they figured out all the other stuff.
Break this down though for me, so just so I can understand. 4-wall means
so
you're actually doing is renting the space.
In a sense,
from Luxor
in a sense,
like a fee
I mean, they're
for
still
that?
giving me the residents the space to do it, so they could at any time say we don't want you there anymore, and then then you lose the. The gig and the residency at the Luxor. So in a sense, they are definitely part of it at that level, but they're not financially. We own the show, but they of course have a lot of.
Okay, so then you would get then this split of ticket sales, merch, revenue, like even food and beverage. Do you?
No,
like,
we
you
don't.
running like your own
No, we don't get
business
the. I wish we had food and beverage.
That'd be
We've
nice,
tried.
right?
We've tried. We've tried. Yeah, well, I was one of the first comics that sold T-shirts, and people were like. What? And I'm like, I got to sell, I want to sell some Carrot Top T-shirts. And so, again, it was all marketing and adding Carrot Top T-shirt, and people would love them. And so Rodney Dangerfield, this is not a joke, Rodney Dangerfield at MGM, Dave, when I was finishing my run, and he came in with his wife, and there was my merchandise counter outside, and he says, "Oh, you selling T-shirts out there?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Worst Rodney Dangerfield impression, by the way." "You selling T-shirts?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You don't sell merchandise?" He's like, his wife's like, "No." I said, "You don't sell like a red tie, like no respect?"
He would have killed
and,
it.
Oh well, he did. He started selling red ties and but I thought that was amazing. I thought, how did no one else would thought it? Nowadays you go to a comedy show, everyone sells records and albums and T-shirts. But I was one of the very first that thought of selling and the comedy clubs just didn't understand it, and I would set up a table. And I'd make more money in the sales of my T-shirts than I did doing my jokes. Until they got wind of that, and then they're like, "We want a percentage of it." And I said, "No." And then they're like, "Yeah, we have to get a percentage. Well, you're making all this money." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's my T-shirt." So that kind of got a little tricky. Yeah. So I think if any show you go to, I'm sure even Aerosmith probably has some kind of deal where they have to split it with the venue and the whatnot. A certain percentage, I'm not sure.
When you think about merch versus ticket sales, would you say that they're pretty close when you look?
Well,
at like
rock and roll
career,
bands make like Taylor Swift probably makes more money on her merchandise than I wouldn't say more than her show, but she makes a pretty
close,
good penny.
right?
Sure. Yeah, merchandise with certain artists it's unreal what they get.
When you're comparing, because these are times I'm so intrigued, 4-wall versus 2-wall. What like percentage split? How would it be different if you're
50-50? Yeah.
So 2-wall would be 50-50, and then 4-wall would be 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, gotcha. Looking back at your
and I suck at math. I figured that one out.
That was pretty quick.
Yeah, it was quick.
We got a Roger Dangerfield impression. I got a
horrible
Trump
Rodney.
impression.
You got a Trump impression.
Carrot Top doing numbers and math equations. I mean, holy smokes, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
When you look back at your residency with Luxor, would you have structured it differently, or are you happy with the way this
No,
is
I'm
done?
happy. Lovely. Yeah, I wouldn't have changed a thing. No.
Got it. That's awesome.
I mean, I would have started with you and say, "Can I have like 35 years straight without having to renegotiate?"
Yeah, that's amazing.
But no, it's always fun to, I think the hotel's happy, and I think that, I've been here so long. It's fun to be part of the history of Vegas. I'd hope this is where I end it all, which is funny because back in the day, not that long ago in the day, Vegas was always considered to be the place where people went to kind of to die, and kind of like, "Oh, you're playing Vegas." It was kind of looked down, not down upon, but you know what I mean. It's like if Branson was, "Oh,
Sure.
you're playing, you're not able to do anywhere else, just Vegas." And now you got Elton John.
It's changed drastically. It's the place to go now, right?
So now it's I've seen it go from that. That to where it's at now. So we've been through that whole change of how now it's cool to have a residency in Vegas.
It's
and
like the
cool to be the
coolest.
guy here. So
Yeah, I want to get into some other dimensions of your career. Before I do, though, being in Vegas this long, I'm getting off the money and career talk. Best restaurant. What would you say is the best restaurant in town?
best restaurant.
I mean, all the restaurants here, you've lived here for all these years. Do you have like a go-to spot?
Well, I go to a lot of places off the strip because it's just where I live. So you kind of just roll in.
All right,
and
what's the hidden gem off the street?
Well, I mean, I don't know. There's a little place called North Italia where I go to, and it's outside, inside. It's like this nice. You're always you feel like wherever you sit, there's an outside breeze, and you just feel like you're outdoors. It's nice. People, great there. Great food. On the strip, there's thousands of restaurants. I mean, every hotel has 7 restaurants.
Yeah.
There's one by the Bellagio Water Show. I mean, they're in the top.
Bellagio.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, when you think about all the shows that you've done at Luxor and how crazy Vegas could be while we're still on the topic, do you have one show where things just got like a story that was just so memorable, got out of hand, one bachelorette party just screaming
well,
too
yeah,
much?
there's been hundreds.
Like, what's the most memorable show you've done in your residency?
We've had shows that have been memorable, and we've had tours that have been memorable. The one we just had was Tahoe. So we had done Palm Springs. Great crowd. Next night we did, like, I don't know where, somewhere in India, near Palm Springs. And then on our tour we're going to Tahoe, so it was like, gorgeous, beautiful Palm Springs. We look at the map, it's like, oh wow, it's like a blizzard. Oh, we got this. So we took off on the bus that night, and I don't know, what was it, 9:00 at night when the show was supposed to start. We're still on the bus driving in the snow. Okay. Not just driving, we're sliding, and so we of course couldn't make the show, so it was horrible. Because I don't think the logistics of that was a very smart idea. Like, let's go to Tahoe.
Let's do Tahoe.
In like January when there's a blizzard. So it's happened a few times. I guess, everybody, Chris Rock and Bill Maher turned it all down. Of course, Carrot Top. I'll do the blizzard show. But we've had shows that have been, I mean, my God. We had one probably 30 years ago. I was doing a show on Valentine's Day in Iowa. Nice big theater, I think 3,000 people, and I used to do a thing where I'd bring a guy and who wants to race a beer with me. I was young.
Yeah.
Who wants to race a beer, chug a beer, right? So I'd randomly pick some guy or a girl, whoever it was, that wanted it. So exciting to do it. And I'd come up and I'd say, "Oh, we're gonna race this beer," and I had a little cooler, and I'd pull the beer out and I'd give him the beer, and it was a whole shtick, It went on forever, and then so we're gonna do this. You ready on 3? And then I would have an egg, like Rocky, because this is when Rocky was out, the Rocky 10, 12, whatever movie was out at that time. Sylvester and I are actually good friends. I feel mad ripping him, but whatever Rocky movie it was. And so I pull an egg out and I give the guy an egg, and they were like, "What's and the Rocky music comes dum dum dum, and I said, "Let's go," and we'd shoot the egg, and then we'd slam the beer. So I, of course, I'd always slam the egg, and they'd slam the egg, and then I'd spit mine back. What are you, crazy? And so they would. And so this guy's like, right when he slammed me, he's just already green.
Yeah.
And I haven't even done the beer yet, so I go to take a sip of the beer, and I'm like, and he would just like,
you just projectile
all over.
Not
only the my carpet rug into I had the cooler. Thank God I picked up the cooler and was trying to get most of it. And it's Valentine's, and now the whole crowd's, what do you call that? Where they're all throwing up. So it went from
like mirroring behavior.
Yes. And so there you hear people, and it's Valentine's Day. I'm like, oh my God, so no one's getting laid tonight. No, I mean, nobody. Right? No one's in a mood to have. It was covered in throw up. I had to finish the show covered in vomit. It was an interesting night.
Well, that's a doozy. I mean, unbelievable.
And I just kept going. We had one where it rained in the theater.
How's that happen?
Well, there's a pipe leak at the Luxor, and I kept hearing this for a while. It was just exactly that noise, right? But it was like doom, and I was like, what is that? And then, one hit me on the head, and then I was like, was it raining? And I looked up and I said, oh shit, there's what the but then it went like, it started, and then it was just pouring.
Yeah. So
all my prop trunks were just, so the people come out with towels, and then they moved it and I was on my scooter because I'd broken my leg snowboarding because I look like Shaun White, but I'm not as talented as Shaun White. And so I think I was on my knee scooter doing my show on a scooter for 6 months because I had broke my leg. And so it was already rough, and I'm on this, and it's pouring down rain, and I'm on this, I'm already wiped out on the scooter many times. And then the trunks are being just downpoured. And I'm thinking, hey, this is, it's comedy. Show must go on. So I just keep going, and it's pouring. I mean, literally, I'm saying, if you've never seen the O show at the Bellagio, look at this free show. And I look over, and my guy's like, stop the show, quit the show. And I'm like, no, we're it's just fun.
Time.
Well, we're having, and it's so funny, it's so weird. But at the end, he's like, dude, there could have been like a fire, it's water, and you have electronics. And I'm like, I'm not that bright. I don't think that way. I just think, I'm doing my show. But you're right. I should have thought, this is probably not, it's probably dangerous. I should probably shut the show down. But we just did the whole show. It was pouring down rain. Did the whole show like it was nothing.
Dumb finance question. If you're managing on the 4 walls there,
back to the 4 wall thing. He likes this 4 wall thing.
No, but then you have to cancel the show because of weather. Who takes the liability of that? Do you still get the ticket sales?
You're looking at them, yeah.
Oh,
no,
my
I eat
God,
shit
that's
when
wild.
that happens. Yeah,
That's
no, I eat all
interesting.
and the stage hands and my crew, everything. Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, let me ask you about
but
this.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So another downside of doing that is that So if there's not a show, then I'm
Okay.
yeah.
So you've mentioned Sylvester Stallone, Chris Rock. I know you're friends with Jay Leno. All the big.
great guy. That's a great guy. Yeah. Oh, it's gonna do your socks, you know. Yeah. I can't tell about
Chappelle. I know he's a buddy of yours.
He's a great guy,
So
yeah.
you're friends with so many of the greats.
Yeah.
Who of all the professionals you've seen in this space have you been most impressed with, and why?
Wow. Well, I mean, of course, stand-up comics. I mean, George Carlin. I was on the side of the stage watching. I got to see Richard Pryor perform. There's the moments where you're kind of just in awe and just mouth dropping. Especially, definitely legends, people like that, where you just can't believe you're even in that. I saw Billy Crystal one time in New York City, and I knew Billy. I met him a few times, and I know Billy Crystal, but I'd never seen him do this one-man show called 57 Sundays or something with his father. It was the most moving thing I've ever sat through in my life. It was on Broadway, and it was like an hour and a half where you're laughing till you can't laugh anymore, and then you're crying, like full-on crying.
all the emotion.
And then they take an intermission, and then he comes back out and does another hour and a half, and you're laughing and crying. You're so exhausted at the end of it that I remember saying to my girlfriends, I said, I'm getting out of this. I'm not even in this business. Like I'm not even qualified to say that I'm in this business. It was mouth dropping. And then at the end of the show, the whole thing I cared about. I really want to say hi to him. I hope I can say hi to him. And a lady came over and said, just at the end of the show, just stand by this door. And I was like, oh my God. And he didn't have to say hi to me, and the only one, he brought me back, and he was like, same as any comic, I'm doing it tomorrow if you want to. I said, don't stop. Like it was the best thing I've ever seen. And he was like, his tail between his leg. Like, it was okay. It could have been better.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't cry anymore. Like, stop with all the crying thing. Like, everyone was crying. My eyeliner was running. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But it was the most brilliant show I think I've seen in a long time. Yeah, Billy Crystal. What a brilliant mind.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people, especially back home listening in their careers, regardless of what it is, might have similar moments where they're doing unbelievable work,
Sure.
but they don't feel good about it. They're
Sure.
trying to find that fulfillment. They're trying to find that confidence. Have you ever gone through a period where you've looked at your career, your performance, and said it wasn't good enough, but the whole outside world thought it was? And what advice would you give for those
Besides, on the way here, yes, I was thinking this exact thing. No, I just had a discussion with my friend today at lunch. Didn't know that I had that. Oh, you've always been. No, I did not. I started in comedy and I didn't do well, and I got out of it because I couldn't figure out how to get enough bookings.
How long a period was that before you dipped out?
It was about over a year.
Wow.
And so I was shucking oysters, and this is a weird. Again, these are all things in life that you just think happens for reasons. I was shucking oysters and bartending, and that's where I came up with this whole end of my show, where I did this dance around the music. It was like a montage of rock and roll and whatever. And I did that behind the bar, just bartending. I would do like Aerosmith and Mick Jagger and Michael Jackson, and when I put the show together, 40 years ago, I thought, I need to have like this rock and roll feel to it. I need to have like this element of rock. So it came from being a bartender and an oyster shucker, but I was doing that one night, and these two couples came in, and I was making them oysters, and they're like looking at me, and they're laughing, and they're like, you must have a twin. And I said, God forbid, I have a twin. Jesus. We'll end it now.
The world
and they
isn't
said,
big
yeah,
enough for
please
two
tell me there's not a
characters.
twin of me somewhere. And they said, no, like literally like spitting image twin. And they said, he's a comedian. He goes by Carrot Top. We saw him in Tampa. And I was like, oh, wow, no, I never heard of him. And I remember that moment, I thought, wow, I must have done okay. And then it was not even that long after that, my best friend who booked comedy club said, I need you to perform. And I said, I'm shucking oysters. I'm not a comedian. And he was like, "You're what? Like for a joke, or you're doing like when are you doing? Are you open on New Year's Eve?" And I said, "No, I'm working at this bar shucking oysters." He's like, "You're fucking Carrot Top. What are you talking about?" I said, "No, I'm not. I'm an oyster shucker now." And he said, "You're out of your mind. You have to do this show." And I said, "I haven't performed in over a year and a half. I'm not, especially New Year's Eve. I mean, actually looking back, it probably would have been the easiest gig to do because no one's listening. They're just doing party favors." So I took the gig, and my own mother said, "I'm going to see this show." I said, "No, God, I don't need you to come to my first show back." And it went, I guess okay. And then I never got out of it again. But there was that period where I lived in an apartment with 4 guys, and we scavenge up money to go to a $1 movie night across the street, and we'd play tennis and smoke weed, and that was it.
That's awesome. When you Google like Carrot Tops,
back then, I don't smoke weed anymore.
Back then, yeah,
don't kids,
that's
not good.
Don't do it. It's terrible. I think I had an edible last night.
Nice.
When you Google like your wealth, you've at least on Google, it says you've amassed a lot. We can get into that. Before we do, this is a tough career that you said that you almost got out of and had to shuck oysters.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with money? Was there almost like a time where you didn't pursue this because of money? Are you motivated by money? Like, what's your relationship with money?
I am well known in the comedy world, at least people that worked with me back in the day. I would never pick up my check.
Interesting.
I have friends that would validate this. I would do my show and I would leave, and they'd say, "Did you get your check? Did they take out percentages?" And I was like, "I didn't even pick up my check." And I remember I would get it. But I wasn't the guy. I just loved doing the show. I loved doing the show, and I knew I was going to get paid. But they'd mail it to me. But I never was the guy that. I mean, unless they were paying me cash, which is under the table.
Under the table, no cash.
They would do. There was clubs that would do that too. Here's your money. And so you go.
Like the cigarette guy.
Yeah. You did good, kid. Take your shirt off earlier in the show, though. So. I would never take my money. I would always. So yeah, I swear people remember that. They say, "What the?" And I always get wrapped up in the moment of being in this career. And but of course now I pick up my money. No, there was a guy that I worked with, and I think he's still alive. And what a funny guy in the South is. It was James Gregory, and he would sell out these like weekends. He had me open for him, and it was like a big honor to open for him because it was packed. And he was so funny, and at the end of the night, I had done the weekend. It was like a Friday, Saturday. It was like 2 shows on Friday, 2 on Saturday. And we were in the lobby, and he walked out. This is not a joke. He walked out with this like bat, like an actual pillowcase. And he's a big fat guy with a beard. So I said, "Oh, fuck, Santa." I'm making a joke like, "Oh, Santa, whatever." And what's in your bag, Santa? And he's like, "What's in my bag? It's calf carrot." That's how we talk. And I said, "Cash? It's not cash." And he said, "No, it's calf." It's almost like my Jay Leno says impression of him. And I said, "That's honestly." He says, "Yeah. When you get big enough, you tell them to pay in cash." And I never forgot that. I was like, I had this little check, and they took out all this stuff. I don't know what it was. They took out like half of it.
Took it out.
For things. And I remember thinking I made like, after all these shows, I had like $150, which was huge back then.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got $150 for a whole weekend. This is amazing. And he had like, 10 grand in cash in a pillowcase, and he just throw it in his car and took us all to Denny's, and he would take us all to dinner. But I never forget that. I was like, one day I'm going to get paid in cash in a big sack and just walk out with it.
That might have to be a prop of yours, just a big Santa sack.
He'd always do that. We'd go to Denny's, and he said, "Oh, what's your name?" And they say, "Tina." "Sarah, can I get the potatoes?" He'd always do that same fucking joke every night. "What's your name, Tina?" "Barbara, can I get that?" Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned is you look at your check and half of it's gone.
Yeah.
Over your career,
it's called the IRS.
It's called the IRS, by the way. But also, when you look at a lot of massive figures who are just pursuing their passion and really don't pay attention to dollars and cents, they have stories that at some point they were taken advantage of, or they lost money on a transaction because they invested in something they shouldn't have. Do you have any stories like that when you look back at your career, a moment you're taking advantage of, or invested in something you shouldn't have, like a lesson learned?
I've been very lucky that I've not done that yet. I've had people that have been that invested in things that were a full thing. A full no-brainer, go. It's all going to be great. There's no downside to it all. I've lived, I guess maybe because I grew up no money, and when I got a little money, I still don't gamble. I still don't go to gamble. It's not my thing. It's not my cards. I don't do much investing outside of. I'm a very, very
conservative.
I just don't. I don't understand it as much as I wouldn't do it. I just don't understand it. So I've been lucky not to get into too many things. And I've had some some things in the past with other people that I've worked with. That I've had to that went south, but that everyone in this business has had a day where you had to, but that's part of the job.
That's cool. How about this? What is one thing you spend? Maybe you look at it, you spend a little too much money on, but you won't stop spending. Like it's a convenience or it's something you buy.
T-shirts? I mean, I honestly don't. No, I'm not making it my guy. No, I don't have any jewelry. I have a cock ring on that's very nice. It's the
Rolex.
It's still.
Maybe that could be your next product brand you drop.
Cock rings. Yeah,
go in Vegas. You'll sell every show.
Every night.
I think your manager's about to put that together right now.
Yeah. No, I've been one of those guys. I have one car. I mean, I have one. I have 41 houses though. No, I just have a house. I have a car. I don't have any jewelry. I don't have watches. I don't have. Once in a while, I'll buy expensive pair like stage. I'll buy a pair of Balenciagos for my stage.
Yeah.
Other than that, people always say to me like, "Dude, you're like just like this little hippie dude." And I said, "Yeah, I can't even afford to wash my hair. It's just." But yeah, this is what I did. I just not my thing. I don't know, but thank God I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have friends that have like a garage full of cars and Ferraris and Lamborghinis and whatever. But
I think it's so good to have. There's so many people that look up to you, and they can finally look up to someone that doesn't have to like live their identity through materials, which is very hard to come by these days.
Yeah,
I think it's motivating.
Well, I think I get, and I now that you get older, you speak to a lot of young people, and when I would speak to, and it still happens to this day, they'll say things to me like, "Oh my God, I want to be like famous."
Yeah,
and I always would say, I still say, "What do you mean? What do you mean like famous?" And I said, "I want to be famous, and be on TV and whatever." I'm like. But okay, but what is it that you want to do though? You're not just famous. You're not just a famous person. What is your craft? Are you singing? Are you speaking? Maybe what are you doing to invest some kind of investment thing? But when they just say famous, they instantly think, oh, you're famous and you have a big house and a fancy car and jewelry and watches but you don't do anything. You're just famous. You don't work.
You just click your fingers.
You're going to go to like the Knights game, right? I'm like, no, I have a show. Like, oh, they don't cancel the show because the Knights game. No, they don't.
That's how it works.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of responsibility that goes in with if you're going to be famous. It's more about the job. It's not being famous. It's silly. I mean, but you don't find out until you probably are, and then you're like, this is silly.
That's one of the cool things about I think what we've done with this show is all different industries.
And I'm not famous. I'm recognizable in a lineup. That's what I am. I'm not famous.
I'd say you're both.
Yeah, they say if you didn't do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah. If someone recognizes you in the lineup, they're going to pick you out pretty quick.
Definitely the guy.
But one of the things we do is uncover all these industries so people can actually talk about the truth about where it is that they do make money, where they don't, and where all the illusions are, because there's so many out there. I mean, when you Googled your stuff, I'm seeing like 75, 100 million net worth. Are these things realistic? Is it bullshit? Is it like, what would be your advice for people that are stuck in the mirage of Googling what people make and how much they earn, and that's why they're chasing because they want to be famous?
That could be true. That's all bullshit. I would say first thing, we did that one night backstage. It was hilarious. We Googled Carrot Top. This is great, and we did it. And we have it on my Instagram somewhere. See Carrot Top net worth, and it came up something ridiculous like $100 million. And my manager's like, $100 million? I said, yeah. And he's like, why are we not getting raises? I said, well, dude, it's not real. So then we said, let's Google you. So we literally, we Googled everybody in the crew, like Dan O'Leary.
Yeah.
And it came up 1.8,
sure,
whatever, million. And he's like, oh my God, I'm worth 1.8 million. I'm like, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of, it's got to be, I don't know how they came up with it, because it's not real, but God bless them for printing it. I guess it's real. That the fun part about, of course, is television, and the realism is. So I did a little episode it's a nice episode on Hacks. The show's coming out on HBO, and when I get there, there's this big. I mean, it might be 50,000 square feet or more, all made of stone. This big, huge house, and then I get there and I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be my house, and they're like, yeah, and they're great. And I'm like, okay, this is not going to be good for me after this, because everyone that's going to see this episode is going to really honestly think that just like that. They're going to think that I live in this monstrosity of a house made of stone. So when that comes out, I just can't wait. People are like, dude, your house is unreal. I'm like, yeah, it's TV home. It's not my home. Like the Golden Girls don't live in that house that they shoot in front of, but no.
Yeah. One thing you had mentioned too is people talk about the famous and the rich, and you talked about, no, I'm working. You're doing 6 nights every single night. That, first of all, it's a grind. Second of all, the lifestyle's got to be kind of wild, right? Like during the day you have so much time, but then you're up so late.
I would say that's kind of the only, I wouldn't say the tricky side of having a show at night every night, and as a comic, not just, is you have to kind of pace yourself as you go during the day, because you have work at night, every night at 8 o'clock, and you got to get there at 6 and a thing, and a meet and greet and a sound check and just like anything else. So it's really, your whole day is gearing up towards your evening at work. So you can go to lunch, but you can't. Let's do shots. You're like, well, I can't do a shot. I have a show. Oh, come on, I have to work in a bit. They don't understand that. Like, if you're going to go to work, right? You're not going to do shots and then go to work, are you?
No.
I hope not. My doctor, we have surgery. Just one quick. Now we're going to go in and fix his spleen. But airline pilot. There's always things like that too. I can have a bad show and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But you have a doctor or a lawyer that has a bad night. It's not good. So, but there is that lifestyle, I guess you'd say, in a sense, where I've done it so long that I kind of am, let's say, used to it in a sense where I know I have to be ready to go and, focused and kind of like tonight, I've got 3 or 4 things that I've never done that I'm going to try to throw in the show and kind of just play with it and see. It's fun. I'm lucky in that regard because my show is just my show. It's not a Cirque show where everything's rehearsed. It's rehearsed, but it's not, it's a big outline and I can kind of dance in and out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas, it would be hard to be in a show where it has to be the same every night. I'm lucky I can do a joke about the Knights, and I can do a joke about Trump. I can do a joke about whatever it is that's going to happen in the next week or 2 weeks, or Aaron Rodgers, whatever the story is. I can throw it in there,
adjust it to
and then
what's relevant today.
A lot of people, which I think is fun, is they notice that and they'll say like, "Wow, the show's really current."
Yeah,
which is the best compliment you can ever get. A comic, I think, is when they say, "Wow, your stuff's really kind of on point, on current. You're not talking about Nixon,
Right. that makes
what I mean.
Yeah, that makes a good point. I want to talk a little bit about storytelling. I think people, whether they're selling back at home or they're a CPA or they are a teacher, whatever they are, everyone has to be able to adjust their storytelling. Maybe it's an interview. As a comedian, your storytelling is it's one of the best in the world. What tips do you have from people back home that struggle with storytelling? Maybe if it's on a date, interview, whatever it might be, what tips would you give them to focus on storytelling? I would say
that's a great question, by the way. I think it comes down to real truth and honesty when you're telling a story. If it's telling a story, and my whole career, literally up until COVID, maybe a little bit before COVID, I was maybe a little when I broke my leg snowboarding. I was kind of, I'm this fast-paced, it's props, it's this, but I'd tell a little bit of a joke, but I wouldn't tell a story. And then I was stuck on this knee scooter for like 5-6 months. And the show had to change because I couldn't run around like an idiot every night with all my things. So I was just stuck like a stand-up. And I would just tell stories. I just told, and it started becoming, but people were like, wow, this is... It was just even my crew was like, this is kind of fun. It's like and then it just turned into more of that. And then I got back on my 2 feet from that. We had COVID, and COVID, we were the first show back in Vegas. It was me and Fantasy. We came back, and there was only because there was only one person on stage. Uh-huh. So they brought me back. Again, they asked me, and I said, "No."
So you were probably one of the first shows,
very
right?
Because
very
first. It was just me. There was no other.
Oh, wow.
No, the only in Vegas.
That had to be great.
There
for
might have been
show,
strip
though.
shows going on, but as far as performance shows, it was just me. But the thing, they moved me into the Chris Angel Theater, which was at the time when he was there, it was like, I don't know, let's say 1,700 seats, somewhere close to that. They only allowed 150, 200 people, and they had a moat in the front of it, so it would take off about 40 feet, and then they would have 2 people, 4 people, 2 people, 4, 6 people, 1, and I come out and I'm this, on this big stage, again, back to Bally's days, and I'm holding up a prop that nobody can see. They didn't have screens. They can't see it. What the hell? And I started doing more of that. I was like, I got to just tell stories again. Because they would listen to my stories, as they would trying to follow along with these props. So I just started telling more, and I came up with almost an hour of just things about my family and how my brother was named after a aviation company, and I was named after a toilet paper company, but it turned into this whole story, and people were like really digging it. So then it just kind of it happened where I just started, and then one day I said, "Oh yeah, I'm old now, so I can't lie about my age on the internet." So, when I played colleges, I'd always just say, "Yeah, how old are you?" Like 23. I'd always go up 1 year. You're 26, 27. It always works if you go up one. If you go up any more than one or go down more than one, they don't buy it.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
they kind of guess you're 30. You just go 31. They go, "Okay." I still do that, but I'm not now because they look you up before you're at the restaurant. And they're like, "You're like 58." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not like 58. I'm 58." So it started to become fun, kind of to being honest again, like I was telling true story, is telling and being honest with the crowd, and that's how it seems to me it's worked more because I'm honest in telling a story that's real. It's not you're not making it up. It's like really happened to me, as a kid. So I think people can see it and sense it. Same with what you're saying. If anyone's going to tell a story or have to speak and do a thing in front of the crowd, just from the heart, I think is really makes a difference. And I think people can really see through it,
Yeah.
They can tell that you're really sincere about your story.
Yeah, I think the sincerity and honesty thing is so true. But I also want to go into some people do that and then they completely fall apart. They're in an interview and it goes awry. They're in a presentation, they start to panic. Have you ever had those moments where you are doing your storytelling, didn't go the way you wanted, and you're trying to adjust from the breakdown? What do you do to adjust that accordingly?
That's life in general. Yeah, it happens to. I don't care who you are. Probably the best of the best have had a moment, especially in comedy, where you're doing something and you had them and you're like, oh man, what did I do wrong? Did I say wrong? Did I just fucking don't think? I remember talking to George Carlin one night. Where this is relevant to what you just said. I remember saying to him directly to him. I said, "Wow. What's it like to be you, where you finally, got it?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're at this level now where you figured it out. You've done, HBO specials for 30 years. You got it now." And he said, "I got nothing. Shit. I have nothing. I still don't have a clue what I'm doing." Wow. Every night I try to do better, and every night I feel I did and do as good as I could do. And I mean that was coming from the best of the best in the world, and it's kind of true. I think I kind of use that theory. I mean, it's been very, very rare I come off a show and I'm like, fucking nailed that. That was a great goddamn show. Yeah. And because usually I'm like, well, God, I messed up that one. Everything was perfect. Sure. And I mean, that one thing I just. But I mean, I let it go way sooner than I used to. I'd hold on to it for 2 days, but now. Letterman used to do that. Letterman was very famously known for coming off a show and going up and watching the show and just horribly upset with himself every night. Even if it was a good show. He'll even tell you that. He just was miserable about he would kill David Letterman, but he would just it's not good enough. Not good enough.
You think if guys like you, Dave Letterman, George Carlin are experiencing that, then maybe the answer is get comfortable,
or just get out of the business. I think just quit.
But I think it's all businesses. I don't think it's just comedy.
No, that's why I said it's in any business. It's in any business. It doesn't matter if you're a comedian. If you're selling sod. I mean, everyone has had a situation where you're like, man, But again, I think that's just life, and it's just having to not have that anxiety. It's easy to say.
Yeah.
People always say, "Would you just calm down?" You have an anxiety attack. Well, just relax.
It's like the worst advice you can give.
They always say, just relax. Just relax. Take deep breaths. I've done that. It's like when you get a cold, they always say, drink some lemon water. Okay, I didn't thank you for giving me the advice of drinking some fucking tea. Like I didn't know that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, they always give
sleep and get some tea.
Drink and rest and just relax and drink some tea and have a. Okay, I didn't even think about that.
I love it. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's the answer from Scott. Yeah. Scott, we have to end with 2 trading secrets. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So every guest comes on, they give us trading secrets. The first trading secret is going to be one deal you did that changed your life, or that you'll always remember. Maybe it was small. Maybe it was I did this stupid stand-up deal for $10, but it changed my life. Or you got the $1 million check for doing this. One deal that changed your life. And then the second one is going to be a career lesson people can only get from Scott Thompson given your career track. They can't find it on YouTube or a textbook. So let's start with the deal that you'll always remember.
Well, the deal that I remember, again, it's not about money. In fact, I don't think there's been one time in my career where I did something for money where I thought, ooh, I signed a big contract or got a deal for something, because I've never done that.
That's so cool.
But the best thing that I've done for my career, I think, when I was starting out, they asked if I would do this college It's called NACA, National Association of College Activities.
I know NACA. Yeah.
And so I did the NACA, and I did all these different regions, and I did really, really, really well. And then they had the national convention in Dallas. And this is literally probably what broke, I think, my career wide open was, and it wasn't television. But television, of course, had a big impact but it started with the colleges, and so I did the national performance in front of all the college kids. So, I mean, all the main people. So imagine 10,000 kids, but they're all every person in that
different
room
schools
books the Notre Dame, books Florida State, books Florida. So and you did kind of. I have always been good at like, don't think about that. Just do your normal show. Don't think about all these people out there could make or break you. So I went up and just did my thing, just whatever I would normally do at a show. And it went so great, and I broke Harry Chapin's record for the number of bookings in one day at a NACA. So what happened with that was like I was employed for 2 or 3 years automatically. Like I'm already booked 3 years out. I got Notre Dame, I got Florida, I got Boston College for like 3 years, and so I was playing big venues, but then little cafeterias. One morning in the cafeteria, and then the afternoon or in the evening was a big theater. So I was doing. I was like the weirdest thing. It was just I learned so much, and then that's when I started doing TV. So I would do like Notre Dame, and then that next morning I'd fly to New York and do Regis and Kathy Lee, and then do a couple colleges, and then Friday I would do the Tonight Show. And so it was like grassroots marketing in a sense, where people, like kids in college, would say, we saw this guy Carrot Top, and then their grandmother said, I saw Carrot Top on Regis. Yeah. And their parents were like, I just saw him on the Tonight Show. So it was like I became like this. It was like from 8 to 80, I was kind of entertaining every group, and it kind of appealed to every group and every market. So it kind of became this, who the fuck is Carrot Top and how's he getting? Oh, but it was all this hard work, but I was lucky in a sense that I was perfect for television. All the props and the thing, it was a perfect match, because the visuals aspect of my show was perfect for television, and especially at that time when they had a lot of shows that put comics on. Yeah. And there's not a lot of outlets now except the internet. A lot of TV shows don't even book comics anymore. They don't have comedians on that much unless they're selling a book or a DVD or a special or something of that nature. So I was very lucky at that time when I hit.
That's cool. That's where the snowball started. We see where it is today. Yeah. One Trading Secrets career advice. Someone's lost within their career, something that you experienced that got you through maybe hard times. One trading secret on the career advice perspective.
Well, I think just being general about it. I think we've talked about it a few times with my leg being broken and talking about the COVID. I think it's finding, especially in a career, any career, I think if you find out what it is that you do and what you're trying to do, is really hone in on what you're doing and what you want to do, but know everything about what you do, and also put in the work. I think that's the most important part of any job. I don't care if you're an accountant, you're a lawyer, a doctor, you're a comedian, you're a rock star. The ones that the Rolling Stones are in the studio right now making their 71st album.
Crazy,
that's the kind of shit that I take. I'm like, you know what? Fuck. The Rolling Stones are still in the studio making an album. They don't need to make an album.
No.
They don't have to even perform, but they love what they fucking do. Yeah. And that's what I do. I love my job. I love preparing for it. I love doing my sound check, and we come up with every night in the sound, we come up with a joke. I don't know why, but that's the time where I think of it. But putting in the hard work, putting in the time, putting in taking your job seriously too. Like, someone let's do some shots, and they're like, well, I have to go to work. Right. Sorry, but I'll have a shot after.
Yeah,
I'm definitely will have a shot with you after the show. But I think just stay dedicated and really honed in on your craft, and believe in what you're doing too. I mean, everybody in the world told me that I wouldn't make it as anything. I mean, but especially as a comic. I mean, everybody was like, there's a joke in my show. It's not even a joke; it's a real story. But even my father, when I said I wanted to be a comedian, he said something to the effect of, "You do know that's probably not going to happen." And it's true. I said, "Yeah, you're probably right." But I didn't believe him. I said, "Why won't it happen? Why can't I do it? I mean, why not?"
Yeah.
Why not?
Don't believe the
You
noise.
can't. I mean, you can't. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but everyone will say that. You're not gonna. Oh, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be that. Okay. My brother went to the Air Force Academy and flew F-16s. Like, what the fuck? I remember my brother wanted to. I was like, 12. My brother said, I want to be a pilot, and I said, okay. But my brother was smart, so I said, well, you could probably do it because you're smart. You're book smart. You can do it. And then he went to the Air Force Academy. I was like, what the fuck? And I didn't go to the Air Force Academy.
Yeah.
But I went and saw him there, and I remember thinking, man, my brother's smart. But he did. He committed to it.
Yeah.
He did all the work that he had to do to become an F-16 fighter jet pilot that no one else. Shit, there's only 30 people in his class that, a billion people wanted to do that, but he was dedicated. No, we didn't have money. He got a point. He got a scholarship to go and from swimming, but you don't just go to the Air Force Academy and do it. You got to do it.
You got to do it.
You get kicked out of the Air Force Academy if you don't do it. So.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant advice, especially for people that are on the precipice of like trying to push through to what they want to do, and them hearing it from you. Yeah. And to me, like the biggest thing that I admire from what you said today, that I'll never forget, is you never even picked up your paycheck.
Oh, that's
that
so
is
true.
Such an
kind of a dumb thing, by the way. Don't
dumb
take
thing, right? But whatever. But it's also
people hear that and go, Jesus.
It's a dream. Like that is, I agree, but it's also a dream.
Yeah, I have about 100 comics that could attest to that. They always just say, he didn't pick up his check, and then call me and say, you left your check at the club. And I said, I know. They'll mail it to me.
That is a dream. It is awesome. I know you have a show to go to tonight. And for everyone listening right now in the recap, we're going to talk all about the show because we are going.
That's right. You're going.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Shit,
Let's go.
Better be good.
I'm fired up. We're having a couple drinks before. We're going to watch it. Scott, if anybody wants to know more from you, wants to reach out to you, wants to find you, where can they find you, Scott?
My cell phone number is 40. You can just reach out to, we have all my social media, like carrottop.com and Instagram's Carrot Top Live and Real Carrot Top at the Facebook and all, or whatever we call it. But you can just Google me, find me somehow. And I would love to chat with any. I try to answer a lot of questions on my Instagram. People will ask me if they're a question you want to answer back. It's like some people just like
some people can be assholes.
Ignore but then but they have a question that really does like spark me. I'm always like, ooh, I love to. That's awesome. Or it's a real dumb one. I love getting back to them.
There you go. Go find Carrot Top on social media. Guys, we're going to show you where to get tickets to Carrot Top's show when you come to Vegas. And Scott, thank you so much for coming on Trading Secrets.
That was really fun.
This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Next time he's trading secrets.
Yes, well, every year, at the end of the year,
you do?
I got to be in the hot seat.
Good.
I share where I make it, where I lost it, all the things. This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.